Grinders. Yes, do not adjust your clocks. It's 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock on the East Coast. We're a little bit late, but not really because it's a 7:30 slate. We're going to be taking you all the way up the lock, and it's not a 13-gamer, not a big boy slate. So we can get through what we have to do for an hour or so, yield to crunch time. Crunch time coming in about 7 o'clock, taking you guys up the lock. 7:30 lock tonight. 5-gamer, just a 5-gamer in the association. Still plenty of body parts. We are monitoring who is in and who is out. We have 5 games, 10 teams. 8 of those teams are either on the front end or the back end of a back-to-back. So that's partly why we have some injuries to monitor. It's the front end of a back-to-back for the Lakers and the Suns. Back end for the Cavs, Mavs, Denver, Kings, Clippers, and Bulls. Myself, Dean 78904, Dean Shabelson. I'm going to be joined today by Bobby Gomes. You guys see Bobby Gomes, movie aficionado. Bobby Best Ball. He's got to be excited about all his Best Ball shares moving on. It's Best Ball week next week. I'm sure people will be talking about that on the Twitter. Bobby Bitcoin. I'm just throwing in all the nicknames that Kirkwood has given you over the years for some reason. I don't know why they're just popping in my head. But Bobby Woo. Shout out Bobby. You guys know him from the old Tournament Takes podcast. What's up, Bobby? It's 6 o'clock. We excited for a little bit of hoops?
We are excited. Happy to be back in the NBA streets after a long weekend of NFL, I'll say. It was a rough week, but NBA has been pretty good to me recently, so happy to be back.
Yeah, 5-gamer tonight. Luka was just ruled in, by the way. Luka Doncic, that's the first half of the TNT doubleheader. Dallas is at home versus the Lakers. The Lakers coming off their in-season tournament victory. This will be their first game since playing in Vegas. Durant is still out, which is a kind of a big deal. That's the back half of the TNT doubleheader. TNT probably bummed they're not getting the old Durant revenge game versus Golden State. LeBron and Davis are both questionable. Now, LeBron has always had those fake questionable tags, but he's got a questionable tag, but Davis rarely gets them. He's usually probable. He's actually got a questionable, and this might be a preemptive strike for tomorrow because they play San Antonio tomorrow. And maybe it's just sort of like one of those, like laying the groundwork. Just kind of like giving you a heads up that maybe one of those dudes is going to rest versus the Spurs. I think both will play tonight on TNT, national TV. That's my guess. No official word just yet, but to me, that's what makes sense. Doesn't always work out, but that's kind of where I'm at. Evan Mobley still out for Cleveland. Jamal Murray back half of a back-to-back, and he's questionable. And I think there's a really real chance that he does not play tonight. Multitude of injuries this year, just kind of jumping in and out of the lineup. There's no real reason to push it, but we'll see on that. Derek Jones was also just ruled out as well for Dallas. There will be some value on Dallas. They did get Grant Williams back. And the other thing is if Tim Hardaway doesn't go, I think it's his back that's been flaring up on him. If he doesn't go, it's going to be full on, Luka and value pieces, and, we'll go from there. But, your thoughts as far as the slate. What are you seeing? Let's say hello to chat as well, by the way. What's up, chat? Hit that like button. Do subscribe. And turn on those notifications so you know when we go live. You're probably sitting there at 5:20, 5:30, 5:40. Like, why is the show not live? Well, if you have notifications turned on, then you would have known that there's no reason to flip out.
I just had the biggest argument with my girlfriend's sister about using Twitter properly and basically turning on her push notifications. Yeah.
Was there a certain account that she wanted to make sure she's got to get every tweet from a certain person, or I'm curious.
No, she's like, Twitter is terrible. And regardless, what your Twitter take is currently, because the political line of it all, that's something that it's still very vital, I think, in today's society. And you need to utilize it and just utilize push notifications and stuff like that, especially if you're playing DFS, right? We're getting push notifications constantly. But just to get information quickly, should always have your push notifications on. For YouTube, if you like this show and we're bringing good content, turn on those push notifications.
Yeah. I mean, Twitter, like every social media, it's Twitter is not an outlier. They're all cesspools to various degrees for various reasons. That's just the way it is. But there are very few things that are 100% good or 100% bad, right? There's a lot of gray. And Twitter is certainly useful, not just DFS, but for sports gambling, right? if you can get that information and get that betting really quickly before like the 30 seconds, you got like a 30-second head start, and then the book's just going to close it out, and you whatever edge you can get, by all means, I am for it. But somebody in chat says Dean flu game. Is my voice off? Can you tell that I was sick yesterday too, and I'm not really improving. But we're powering through. And you said you weren't feeling spectacular either. So the both of us.
I feel like I've been sick for like 3 weeks in Mass just because of the weather change. I don't know. I feel like it's tough right now. When it gets cold, I get sick.
I left the house over the weekend, and that's right. I broke the rule. I have one rule: you don't leave the house. I saw some.
You live in Florida, Dean. You live in Florida. What's the temp change? Like, you're not going down to the 20s, dude. Like, you live in Florida.
But I saw like people, and I saw kids. I saw some, and kids they don't know what's going on. As far as germs, they don't care, right?
No, my kid doesn't care at all. That's probably the other reason that I've been roughed up is just he's going to the park every day, swapping boogers with other kids. You know what I mean? Like,
they don't no respect for germs whatsoever. But all right, anything else we should get into before we talk about today's show? Even producer Steve is playing a little injured as well. All three of us. We're just kind of powered. We're here for the people. This, we are a part of the People's Show.
2/3
on Sunday. Yeah, we'll be complete when we do the crossover for Crunch Time because Tim's going to be on later on. You guys get Tim later. I believe you get TJ, and is it Keith? I want to say it's Keith, but
if this wasn't a PG show, I would have said F Tim. But
I think you said that in our private chat earlier today.
Yeah,
but he was involved. You weren't saying it behind his back, and there's context.
No. I'll never say anything. I'm very upfront. Like, no, I love Tim. He's a good guy. Doesn't give me the best NHL picks, but it is what it is. Saves them for TJ and Blender.
It's a huge night in the NHL streets. Actually, on DK, they have the 8888, where I believe it's a 200K up top. I want to say, and Tim's in there. I don't know if TJ's in there or not, but. And I believe Blender's in there too.
I think TJ. I seen TJ in there.
Yeah, well,
TJ's on the rise, man. TJ is a hell of a DFS player.
If TJ was a stock, you're bullish on TJ.
I'm bullish on TJ for sure. Yeah.
All right, there you go. He's been doing and he's at that screenshot life at the NHL streets, and it's hard to get like a huge number for an NHL screenshot because the pools just aren't that big. Make them bigger, and the people will come. We see it when there's no NBA, when there's no other sports going on. The people, hockey, I guess we'll pay attention to that. Newt in chat says Blender never gives picks. No, Blender, if you ask Blender for his picks, he'll yell at you. It's like, what do you mean?
I did that, and he yelled at me. I did that. I slid in his DMs, and he's like, he gave me the typical Blender. You can play everybody. And I'm like, all right.
Check the projections.
Thanks, Blender.
I mean, he's got a great mind for DFS, but if you want to ask him this guy or that guy, probably try a different show. We're happy to piece that.
Tim's commenting in chat. I bought low on Tim early. Low on Tim early. He hasn't shown me his full potential yet. So,
did you cash out, or is he like Top Shots? What are you suggesting about Tim?
No, Tim's very good as well. I'm just breaking his balls.
Very first game. You want anything to say as far as the slate overview? Anything that we should
slate overview for me is people aren't getting to Doncic and Jokic, and you should prioritize those guys, in my opinion. But the cash build and optimizers, they're going to push AD and LeBron, and that's fine. But I want the guy to get 70. I want Jokic. You know what I mean? I want Luka. So that's like my thought process on this 5-game slate is to get to those two somehow.
Can you make a Luka Jokic lineup? Is that possible? I haven't tried. I mean, I was messing with stuff earlier today, but I'm like, what am I doing? Like, whatever I'm doing right now, it's going to get thrown out the window because a bunch of new information is going to be coming in. So I was messing around for a little bit, and I'm like, let's just wait and see and have the conversation organically and figure it out on the fly. I think if Tim Hardaway gets ruled out, all of a sudden,
Jaden Hardy maybe assumes more ball handling stuff in that scenario, which he's kind of been excommunicated from that rotation via Jason Kidd, but they really don't have much at that point. So
he's back though. He's back, and he's somebody that can get his own shot. Like, unlike a Seth Curry can make, a catch and shoot three. That's his skill. That's what keeps him in the league. but he's not a guy that really can create his own shot. Maybe like Luka can get him an wide open three, but Jaden Hardy's a guy that can actually create a shot for himself. So yeah, and like Dante Exum has turned himself into a pretty decent. He used to be horrendous. Remember back in the day when he was on Utah? He was a horrible fantasy point minute.
I remember when I used to go on like NBA mock drafts, and he was like the number 1 overall from Australia and stuff, and it was just like, or number 3 or whatever. And then he never panned out.
You're grinding mock drafts from like 8 years ago. Look at you, man.
It was longer than that, right? I used to be so into the weeds with that stuff, and now it's like, I think Shit My Money talked about it previously. It's like, you get that DFS, I'll get the information when it's ready and actually actionable.
He was in the 2014 draft, Dante Exum. Let's see. Wiggins was taken number 1. Jabari Parker, number 2. You know who was taken 3rd behind Wiggins and Jabari Parker?
Who?
Former current MVP, Joel Embiid. I believe Embiid he sat out the first year or two.
Fake MVP, but
well, the funny thing is, it's like this year he's been way better.
He's been better this year than he was last year. Yeah.
Yeah, not even close.
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon 4th. Exum was 5th. Now the reason why is you're probably looking to see like your Celtics, because your Celtics drafted 6th overall. You remember who they took?
Marcus Smart, maybe.
There it is. Nicely done. You nailed it.
All so right. Like I actually remember. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. The Celtics are just. I was never a Marcus Smart guy. I don't know what the big deal was, but.
Yeah. I mean, he's a solid. I wouldn't call that a bust or anything. He's a solid NBA player and fringe all-star, right? I don't think he ever was an all-star.
I think he was I think he wasn't. I think people make him out to be like this great team player, and I don't think he was.
Okay, I got the he's the guy that like I want on my team, but I don't really want to play against. Just peripherally, that's kind of how I felt about him. So
he
obviously not spectacular.
I think he thought he was a superstar, and he's like the 6th man, if that. So
you wish they would have took Nick Stauskas instead. The Kings got him in the 8th spot, the old Sas Castillo. Okay. But I'm running some optimal stuff. I want to see if our projections have changed, and I would love to get clarity on Hardaway, because that seems like a big deal if Hardaway doesn't play.
I think we had Hardaway in our first optimal when I ran it.
Yeah.
We had Hardy. We had Hardy. Sorry, not Hardaway.
Yes, and I think he's again. Our projections are updated about 5 minutes ago, so the best we can do with the information we have. But FanDuel, the most popular play currently is Dante Exum, Kawhi Leonard, and Jaden Hardy. Those are the 3 most popular guys hitting optimals. And on DK, Dante Exum on the thin, Mavericks number 1. Kawhi as well. Austin Reeves, Trey Lyles doesn't make any sense to me, but that's just I guess it's a matter of your spending. And this stuff again is going to change. What's Trey Lyles projected for? 17 fantasy points is his median projection at 4K. Like, obviously that's not spectacular, and you can't feel good about that. But that's just because it's getting in 3 studs, basically 2.5 studs. That is interesting that Luka is not hitting a ton of optimals. That's surprising to me. Yeah.
I think that conversation that may change, but it might not based on what we're seeing, because Hardy's still in there and we're not getting Luka. But yeah, it could change. I still like Yoke more than Luka.
You do?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think Murray's going to be out? Is that why?
What'd you say?
You said you like Jokic more than you like Luka. Is that what you said, right?
Yeah.
Are you assuming Murray's going to be out?
I'm assuming Jokic is going to be the lowest owned, because the second like Hardaway's out, or it's just everyone's going to jump to that first prime time, the 7 o'clock national TV. I think currently, are we showing Jokic ahead of Luka, or who are we showing in terms of ownership? I thought Jokic was slightly ahead, but industry aggregate wise, he was slightly ahead. But I think Luka's going to jump ahead of him, and then if Murray's out, it just boosts Jokic, and you let the information kind of come later. So yeah.
So ownership's about a half hour behind. That'll get updated, obviously, closer we get the lock, more accurate, more information, yada yada. Currently, we have Jokic at 6% and Luka at 12%. I vehemently think that Luka is going to jump from that 12. And again, that stuff will adjust. And we have 31% for Anthony Davis and 15% for LeBron, and we don't know if they're going to play. We think they're going to play, but, we'll see. One more I'll just throw out with you before we go game by game. Devin Booker, no Durant, and he's 4% owned. What? That's I think that's one. If that's the number, if that's where he's going to land on a 5-gamer, like Booker could be the Slate's highest scorer. Like that wouldn't shock us, right?
So I could see that, but I also think that I think that the second Luka jumps up, Jokic's pushed down, and who would you rather? Like Jokic, like automatically it's going to be AD, Luka, LeBron, and then Jokic, and then Booker. I would just take the discrepancy on Jokic because I think he's going to outscore all of them. By
the way, Alex Caruso was just ruled out for Chicago. So we've been spared watching him go to the locker room in the second quarter. Tough guy, trying to get out all his injuries, but he's not playing on the back half of a back-to-back. Very first game on the slate. Let's talk about it. It's the Cavs and the Celtics, 224.5 is the total. Boston, I believe this is the lowest number and the biggest spread on the entire slate. No, not the lowest number because Denver and Chicago is lower. But Boston is a pretty big favorite here, 12-point favorite. I think the Celtics are one of the few rested teams in the slate as far as they don't play tomorrow and they didn't play yesterday. That is correct. Yeah, the Cavs are in the back half of a back-to-back. Boston, island game for them. That's why they're big favorites here, 12, 13 points. We don't have full clarity on Cleveland. Mobley is out. LeVert is questionable. It seems like he's going to play. We're projecting him to play. And as far as Boston, they are fully healthy. Everybody is good to go. The matchup's not great. It's a possible blowout. And speaking of players that are, quote unquote superstar level, Tatum, basically anybody in Boston is not going to be all that popular from what I can tell. Nobody is reaching the 20% threshold. We have Hauser and Pritchard getting some ownership, which is just, again, I don't totally get on board with that. I understand why it's happening, but that's not a route I'm going. I guess if you're going to play the blowout angle or just, you're looking for some cheapies that make some stuff work. And again, if Hardaway gets ruled out, then all of a sudden it's going to be another Dallas guy to replace the Pritchards and the Hausers and the Trey Lyles of the world. But your assessment as far as Boston and Cleveland. Boston fully healthy, expected to win big here versus Cleveland, and going to be at least the expensive pieces will be pretty neglected. Tatum at 5%, Brown at 6%. Not a lot of ownership there. Porzingis at 1%.
Yeah, so for me, I'm really interested in Derek White, and specifically because of his price tag, 6,400. And then you have Malik Monk, who is showing ownership at 6,100. So White would be the one who I think if the blowout were to happen, I could still have him get there. And for that reason, I would prefer Jaylen Brown because he's got a cheaper tag than Tatum, obviously, to Tatum. But that's mainly how I'm approaching Boston. So it's going to be White and Jaylen Brown for me in my player pool. The Hausers and the Pritchards, I'm not playing 150. I guess you can. We're going to get value, so they're going to get Ixnade for my pool. There's no way I'm going to be playing them I'm only playing 8 teams currently. And then on the Cleveland side, Mitchell at 9,200. He's interesting. He's above Paul George, who's going to get some ownership, Kawhi Leonard, but he's pivots off those guys. And I think I would prefer these Utah guys, these Clippers more to Mitchell. Garland's in the same range at 8,300. He's fine. But I still think I'd prefer the majority of these Clippers that are in that price range and are going to be chalky. But yeah, and then LeVert, we've seen this previously. He's likely going to be on a minutes limit if he plays. So no, not any real interest there. That's pretty much it. I had to play Dean Wade the other night because the optimizer was forcing it in, and it actually worked out. But I never want to play that guy.
No. Well, he got 5 blocks and 3 steals, and he accidentally scored a bucket, I think, something like that. And he got you 20 points or so, which is sort of what you needed.
I texted Mangoni, and he's like, "Yeah, I never play him," and I'm like, I was just texted the cash game guy and trying to figure out, and like, you needed him, and I made the wrong decision. But yeah, that's pretty much like Okoro and Porter would get some of LeVert's minutes if he's out. If he's in, it's probably divvied up between the three of them, and I don't really have a ton of interest on Cleveland. Georges Niang probably takes a hit with him back. Sam Merrill, they were going to get minutes to begin with.
Yeah, Merrill's like a straight cross out. I don't know if you're playing him anyway, but we're projecting him for 2 minutes, and I think we're projecting LeVert in. But again, it seems pretty likely he's going to go. Nothing official there. See producer Devin hanging out in chat. Devin saying, "Hope y'all got on the squad ride." I don't know if you've been partaking, if you're aware of the squad ride bets, Bobby. But
I've heard of it. I'm not. It's tough to be in Discord and have a kid. I'll tell you that much.
So Discord. Most of the Discord channels happen to be free. There's an NBA Discord channel. There's NFL Discord channels. There's a hockey Discord channel that's awesome. So there's a new Discord channel called Squad Ride, and basically what's going on is this sort of started. It was starting internally, right? Somebody just to kind of we would all just sort of root for the same bet essentially, where one person will be nominated to pick a selection from Scores and Odds. Like, this is the bet I like that somebody wrote up on Scores and Odds, and then everybody else would just tail. We would all bet the same thing. Hence, it's a squad ride bet, and then the next day, they nominate somebody else, and that person nominates somebody else, and so on and so on and so on. Every single day, there's a new bet. Last night was Devin Anchan over on receiving yards, never in doubt. Although he almost lost like 5 yards, like the last drive of the day, which would have been tricky, depending on it might have been like a yard or two still ahead. But in any event, it's been going really well. It's fun for the community. Gifts are encouraged. Check out the squad ride bet. I'll just let you guys know, but go to the Discord, RotoGrinders.com/Discord, squad ride. And today's bet is Darius Garland under 21.5 points. So Kirkwood, by the way, our boy Kirky, he you know what it is? It's kind of like I don't want to say he was showing off or anything, but people will say like, here, this is my bet. That's my bet. Take a screenshot of it. And like, I put $50 on it. I put $100. I put $200. He put like $700 on Achan. Kirkwood's like, look at me, I'm money bags. So, I don't know if it's a show off or just that's
for a Kirk guy. 700 is low for a Kirk.
That's nothing for Kirkwood. That's pocket change. Yeah,
that's pocket change for Kirky.
That's kid Yahoo. Like he's got Yahoo money. But so that is the bet today. Darius Garland under. And I should mention, since while we're at it, as far as Scores and Odds, the SNAO team, they're up 82 units this year, 82 units for NBA, 58% win rate for Scores and Odds. I should tell you all about the props and pick'em package as well. The experts at RG, for the projection team, they take our premium stats, they comb through the market for any inefficiencies. Using our model, you can easily see which lines are off, where to find them, and how likely the prop will hit based on the tool. Check out the link in the description for more information. I'm saying all this, I'm getting the plug in because I don't really have a lot to say about Cleveland and Boston. This game is happening. If it goes to double overtime, I'm in trouble. I'll check back tomorrow. I'll take my L. But I'm mostly ignoring this game for better or for worse.
So if I was playing 150, I would be interested in Max Strus at 6'4".
Okay.
I feel like Strus is a guy that's had the Celtics number in the past, but that's my analysis and reasoning. So,
the Giants just signed a huge Young-Hoo Lee, 6 years, $113 million. Now, I don't follow baseball overseas very well, but is that the one that everybody's coveting, or is there somebody else that's everybody? That seems like a lot of money, no matter what. But good for the Giants and good for Young-Hoo Lee.
This was another question that if you asked me about 10 to 15 years ago, I'd know immediately. I have no idea.
Yeah. If I'm not I don't have a dynasty. Actually, you know what I do with dynasty baseball league?
Don't tell people that.
Yeah, I have a dynasty hockey league too. Is that not something I should
keep
brag
that one
about?
to yourself too?
Yeah. Did you not put that on the?
Don't put it on the resume.
Yeah, I mean that's understood. That's understood. I got nothing else as far as Cleveland and Boston. If you want to move on, I'm happy to move on.
We can move on.
Okay. There's two games at 7:30. One is Cleveland, Boston. The other one is the Lakers and Dallas. That is the first half of the TNT doubleheader. 231 is the total. Dallas is currently a 3-point dog. We'll do our best to discuss this as best we can, but we're going to assume that LeBron and Davis are both playing. They're both currently questionable. And again, my guess is it mostly has to do with tomorrow night playing against San Antonio, who's lost a ridiculous amount of games in a row. They're no Detroit, but they're coming up on Detroit, I believe. Vanderbilt is questionable for whatever it's worth for the Lakers, but I don't think that matters a ton. Dallas is getting Grant Williams back. Derek Jones got injured in yesterday's game. I believe did he bang knees or somebody hit his quad? Kyrie's going to be out for the foreseeable future. Josh Green, Kleber, they're gone too. And Tim Hardaway Jr., had that back flare up on him, and I'm going to guess he's projecting pretty decent right now. 28 minutes, 25 fantasy points, but if he doesn't go, it's going to condense pretty good because we currently have Hardy for 20 minutes. I would guess that he would get, actually, you know what? We probably have an if-then for this. I know we had an if-then for, let's see. We had an if-then for LeVert, by the way. And the only positive DK value would be if LeVert is out, is Donovan Mitchell. Nobody be a positive value on FanDuel, even if LeVert is out. Doesn't mean you can't play him, obviously. We have one on Jamal Murray. We have one on Luka, but he's in, so that's expired. Yeah, okay. So if Derek Jones doesn't go, but that's already played out, we don't have one specific to Hardaway. That's unfortunate, but I'm sure they're working on it and prepping for that situation, and we'll know. If we don't know, Crunch Time's going to know because that game does start at 7:30. But yeah, Dallas and the Lakers, you talked about it already as far as Luka, and we both don't think this ownership's going to hold on Luka, but if it's in check, you got to feel pretty good about it because it's Luka versus the world when there's no Kyrie.
Yeah, it's not going to hold. It'll get steamed up. I will say, we have 31% for AD, 15% for LeBron. I wouldn't mind flipping that in tournaments. $100 apart. AD is getting all the ownership. I don't think they're that much different of a play. Also, if AD happens to go to the locker room, maybe he just doesn't come back because we don't think he's anticipating on playing tomorrow anyways. So yeah, that would be my thought process. I do think it's AD in cash at 9.8. I think he projects better, and that's why he's getting more ownership. Austin Reeves at 5.8 is, I think, a very strong play on the slate. Shooting guard, small forward eligibility. We have him for 27 minutes. 31% ownership. I'm fine with being over it or at the field. I'd probably be over it. I think he's a very good play. D'Lo would fall behind those three for me. And then the guys like Prince, Reddish, and Vanderbilt, if he plays, are all just fill-ins. Last guy in guys type for me, or 150 guys.
Yeah, ideally you don't want to play any of them, I don't think, but sometimes you just have to for ownership reasons or just for salary reasons. But, by the way, we should be specific as far as Davis. Distinctly different depending on where you're shopping. Davis is 9.8 on DK, which is egregiously low. That's just way too cheap for him. On FanDuel, he's 11.3. So you're going to get maybe half the ownership over there on FanDuel. Power forward center eligible, but he's 11.3. Distinctly more expensive than LeBron. LeBron is 10.1. So LeBron's going to be a little bit more owned. Just wanted to point that out. But I do agree, Davis, 9.8 on DK is probably going to be the most popular big spend. And then it's a matter of maybe you can get Davis and Luka in the same lineup. And that's a good argument for your Jokic thing. These people are probably going to ignore him. And again, the projections will bump up as they currently stand right now. Murray is being projected in. And I think there's a decent chance we do not get Jamal Murray tonight. So wherever Jokic is at right now, his projection will increase. Likely. We'll see. Stay tuned. Any rules you're putting in as far as the Lakers? Is there any I'd only want one of this guy? I guess the Prince, Reddish, that you probably only want one of those guys. Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I think at most one of those three, I think makes a good amount of sense. I also think that on FanDuel you can take the same approach on DK and flip LeBron and AD. If you want to. I feel like AD fits the scoring more on FanDuel anyways, and if LeBron's going to be chalkier, just getting to AD for 1,000, 1,300 more makes sense.
Bobby, you're a big fan of cornerback matchups. I know you love your cornerback matchups. Don Yeezy in chat
And
says
BVP. I'm a big fan of BVP.
Don Yeezy in chat says Vanderbilt and Cam Reddish defense on Luka. I'm off Luka tonight. Like, is that something we're doing?
They could throw prime glove on Luka, and I would still play him. They can throw like Ron Artest and another Ron Artest. They duplicate in a lab on Luka, and I'd still play him.
Like, and if sometimes you'll see teams like will double him, like, and then he'll just get a bunch of assists, right? Which is not necessarily what you want, but you'll see teams try. And of course, there's transition stuff as well. Let's see. Patrick Williams available to play. Torrey Craig available to play. I think we expected that there for Chicago. We'll talk about them soon enough. Eric, your boy Eric in chat says, I want to fade both Luka and Jokic. Am I a dummy?
According to the projections, you're not. You can definitely do that. Like the builds are constructed that way currently across the industry. I just think the tournament route, which I thought Eric, he doesn't like to play the chalk. He likes to get the Jokic and the Lukas and the lower round guys. So it's very contrarian from Eric today.
Hardaway expected to play. Jamal Murray now doubtful. Yeah, he's not playing.
I wanted that news later because
the Murray one. I wanted the Murray one later as well because now everybody's going to adjust. We're going to kick out. I assume the projection team's going to kick Murray out, and before lock, we're going to have Jokic popping, or at least whatever he's at now. He's probably going to make a 3 or 4 point increase in projection, and yeah, his ownership's going to jump more than where it was at. It was pretty low. It was pretty paltry. Aaron Gordon is officially available with his heel as well. So what about Hardaway, by the way? Are people afraid to play Hardaway? The back thing, like, who knows? You never really know with the back. It could flare up at any moment. And by the way, Luka admitted he's dealing with 2 injuries. He's playing with 2 body parts. And he's going to play. But he's got a back and I think a leg as well. He's just kind of playing through it spectacularly because he just always does. Just sort of throwing it out there. But
Hardaway, a jump shooter with a back injury, I don't know about that.
But like he wouldn't play. Like he's missed several games with this injury, so you think, unless he feels some sort of pressure or obligation to give it a go, you never really know what's going on, right? But that's a good point, and it can flare up. Grant Williams also coming back, projected to play 30 minutes. Not a great fantasy point minute player, but if he can make his corner threes, he's got a 20-point projection at 4.7. I'm still going to play. You talked about it. You touched on it before. The cheapie for Dallas. I still trust that we're going to get enough minutes. I hope we get enough minutes out of Hardy. Although, again, this ownership, maybe we got to give a refresh on ownership because he's very, very low. I still think he's earned himself like at least 20 minutes or so. Probably also like blowout proof. This game is goofy, not that it's supposed to blow out or anything, but he's a guy that can mop up if needed and just crush in that particular circumstance. But yeah, how are you handling Hardaway in?
Hardaway in, I still think Hardy's viable. If Kyrie was in, Hardaway in, I still think Hardy is viable. If Kyrie was in, Hardy would not be anywhere near my player pool.
Correct. Yeah, that's where I'm at as well.
They just don't have enough ball handlers. Like they need, it would be Hardaway, Hardy, and Luka. Like you said at the top, Seth Curry's more of a guy that's at this point of his career just taking 3-pointers, and he's not really creating his own shot.
Is he off? Are we scratching him out? And he's also increased in price, Curry. He's now 4.5. He's kind of crept up. He's got to make his threes, and if he's not, he's going to get a quick hook. He's not a good defensive player. I think I'm out in Curry. I'm pretty sure I'm out in Curry.
I'm out on Curry for the amount of lineups I'm playing, but I do think in larger field stuff, if you wanted to play Curry and not play Hardy, what's Hardy's price exactly?
Hardy's 4.6, Curry's 4.5.
Maybe even smaller field stuff, like if you just want to take the shot with all the ownership going to Hardy. Like I don't think Hardy's the greatest chalk.
It's not going to be, by the way. He's forced. If this minute projection is correct, we currently have 15 minutes for Hardy, which I think there's a variance to that one. I think he can absolutely earn himself and play 24 minutes or so, but it's possible he plays like 12 as well. Like there's the floor is rough. Yeah. We're giving Prosper 22 minutes for what it's worth.
Prosper?
Yeah. So maybe we should acknowledge that as well. He's cheaper. It's tough.
What's his fantasy point per minute?
Let's see. On the season, fantasy points per minute. Oh, you know what it is? He's a rookie. And for some reason, rookies do not show up in lineup HQ for fantasy points per minute. So I got to go to Court IQ. I'll just sort of take you through the process. Go into Court IQ and I'll pull up Dallas. Let's see. I don't think it's that massive, but we shall see. I'm filling air now as we're pulling it up.
I know. I'll take over. So yeah, for me, like in terms of Prosper, I think he's fine. He's just another Dallas value piece. Like I'm not going out of my way. The value on the slate in general is like not the greatest.
No.
So like you have to make things work. Like in 150, you should definitely be in your player pool. But
that's why we're talking about guys like Hauser and Pritchard hitting lineups.
Exactly.
Just because you're desperate to pay up for the big guys. But like it's okay. Now where do I find the 4K players? So Prosper on the season is a 0.71 fantasy point per minute player. That's at only 109 minutes. His usage at 13.81%, not particularly appealing either. Curry this season, for what it's worth, 0.81. Not a big usage guy. Where is the guy I was looking for? Hardy. Yeah, Hardy's 0.98 in the season, and he's a 26% usage guy. I mean, I understand there's some different, he's played 220 minutes, and some of those minutes are with good players, and some of those minutes are with a bunch of scrubs, and that matters too. But I just think he's got the highest ceiling amongst all those guys. Because there is a path to him scoring 25 points, like actual points.
Yeah, I feel the same.
No, but it's possible.
That would be my take too. Like there's no, I think he's definitely has the highest ceiling. I do think like if you're going for the game theory route and he does get steamed up or you think he's going to get steamed up, you can swap to Curry, but I don't know. I think Hardy's likely the better play.
LeVert, as speculated, officially in, so that's good to know. All right. Who's your favorite cheapie in this game? It's Hardy? I think it's Hardy.
It's Hardy, yeah. It's definitely Hardy. I like Exum's not cheap, but I think he's like at 5'7". Him and Lively are going to be cornerstones for a lot of people at 5'7" and 5'4". If you're going below that, it would be Hardy.
Lively is kind of limited, but like he's active, he's bouncy, he can dunk the ball, he can do pick and roll stuff with Luka. He's not going to hit shots from the outside, but he can put up like 15 and 15. And they're probably going to have him play a fair bit of minutes, assuming he can dodge foul trouble with hanging with Davis. And he's no longer cheap, but yeah, I do think he's I didn't mention him. It wasn't intentional. I didn't mean to ignore him. But certainly he's in play. I think Exum's a really strong play. He's probably a cash game play for you if you're playing cash tonight. Our projections say so as well. 5.7 on DK, a 31-point projection. So and ownership's going to be there as well, 36%. Anything else we should say as far as this game, or shall we move on? Still a few more before we yield to crunch time.
No, we can move on.
All right, Denver at Chicago. 219 is the total. Chicago's an 8-point home dog. They're coming off a back-to-back, and they played overtime as well. Both these teams on the back half of a back-to-back. We just got the update on Murray. He's expected to miss. He's officially doubtful. Caruso is out. Levine is out. Otherwise, everybody else is in for Chicago. Denver fully healthy beyond. Murray expected to be out. We talked about this one yesterday with Kobe White. Man, he is shooting a lot these days and crazy efficient too. I don't know if I'd expect it to continue going forward, but if you look at his efficiency of late, he's been spectacular. But we did hit a 6-1. We bet him on the 19.5 was his over-under yesterday. We also hit 6-1 at 30+. So shout out to Kobe White yesterday. I don't know if he's going to continue that going forward today, but certainly the opportunity is going to be there. The absence of Levine There's DeRozan and Vooch as well. Williams is kind of the cheapie. No Caruso. Was it Ayo Dosunmu who had the 0 fantasy points in like 24 minutes the other night? That was spectacular. I think he had like he pulled the old Tony Snell, which is hard to do. Man, Andre Drummond, I wish he was like cheaper because he is incredible at like getting fantasy points and rebounds in the few minutes he has. He like misses every offensive rebound, so he just gets like 4 offensive rebounds in one, just being under the boards because he's taller than everybody else. If you watch him play, it's incredible. Anyways, you mentioned Joker. I'm going to see if our projections have changed. You want to get to him. His projection will bump up. And there's another player that I think we should talk about in the Denver side. I'm curious if projections are going to move it, but I'll throw it to you first. Denver and Chicago.
Yeah, Jokic is going to be like probably my highest owned player, I would imagine. I just think it's a really good spot. I was hoping we got that Murray news after lock, but I figured we got it. I knew we were going to get it before lock. So yeah, I like Joker. What's his name? The wing there. Who's the wing there? That
are you thinking of Strother?
Gordon. Not Aaron. I don't know. I'm just blanking on a name right now. Michael. What's his name?
Michael Porter Jr.
Michael Porter Jr. Yeah, I like Michael Porter Jr. a little bit. Kobe White's been on fire, shooting at like an unbelievable clip, pretty much over the last 20 games. Like him a good bit. I'll go back to Ayo Dosunmu in this situation. Like if I was playing 150, if people are just going to get off because of the Snell line, because he has been competent, has value more this year than he ever was last year when I played him. So I don't mind him. Let everyone deal with the recency bias. Kobe White would be my favorite play from the Chicago side. Julian Strother may show up as value now with Murray out on Denver.
That's who I was talking about.
Strother, yeah.
He had his best game as a pro yesterday. You never really know with Denver's bench, like who's ahead of who. They're all kind of bad as a collective. Their second unit's just not good. They're not a deep team. They're really good, obviously 1 through 5. But it looks like he jumped Brown in the rotation to some degree. He's got to score. He certainly can, but and I also think he's kind of blowout proof. If this game gets goofy, I think they would let him run for a fair bit. And he's just super cheap. So our current projection, I was curious to see what our projection would be with Murray being ruled out. 3.5 on DK, and we're giving him 23 minutes, about an 18-point projection. And to me, that is useful. That is useful on this slate tonight. Not only that, but shooting guard and small forward eligible. He's got some versatility as well when it comes to the positions. I'm fairly certain I'm going to have Strother, and I don't make a lot of lineups, but probably every lineup. We'll see. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Arjax becomes interesting too, but he hasn't, Murray wasn't back long enough for Reggie Jackson to have a price dip, right? He's still kind of priced to like when he was the starter. He's at 6.3, so not really a discount there. He's still kind of overpriced, but on FanDuel, he's 5.1. So he's much more playable on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. Reggie Jackson, that is. Yeah, your thoughts as far as the old auxiliary pieces here for Denver. I guess you can go back to Brown and think it flips back, which it certainly can. He's had his moments too. But it just seems like there's always somebody in that Denver doghouse or just Malone hates his bench, as he should. It's not good.
Yeah, they're a young team. Julian Strother for me at 3.5. TJ just said it in chat too, and you reiterated it. He opens up a lot. So like I said, with my builds trending up to Jokic, to Luka, Strother's going to end up hitting a lot of my teams as well. And don't forget Michael Porter Jr. I like Michael Porter Jr. in the spot, even though I forgot his name. And now I'm telling everyone not to forget about Michael Porter Jr. But yeah, I think he's interesting as well.
TJ saying, yeah, Strother might be his highest owned player. Yeah, so, it's not going to be a big old secret. He's currently projected for, 10% ownership. That is going to change when we get an ownership bump. I think if this sample size is big enough, I think this is going to change as far as ownership. Actually, we have a brand new batch of ownership. Let's see. Curious what they have Strother now. 10%. I think it's going to be higher.
I'll be over that. Yeah, it's going to be over that. It'll definitely get steamed up. Where do we have Luka and Joker currently?
Let's see. Right. We have Luka at 12% and Joker at 6%. Yeah, this is updated at 6. Maybe I got to give it another refresh. I feel like it looks the same. It says updated at 6:45. That's the timestamp, but the numbers look really similar. Okay, there we go. 17% Joker. There it is. That's what I was waiting for. Now Joker is like 17, 18%, and Luka is 13%. That's kind of what we're expecting, because the Murray news has definitely changed it. The most popular play in the slate is Dante Exum. The second most popular player in the slate, Julian Strawther. So there you go. We're not this isn't like amongst us. Like the secret's going to be out on Strawther. And it might be bad chalk. I don't know. But I think I'm playing him. Yeah. Is that what you wanted to hear? Or is that not what you wanted to hear?
Like I said, I would have rather the news after the 7 p.m. started. But I've always thought since this morning that Jokic was the best player in the slate. So
we got 2 more games. Crunch time coming in about 10, 15 minutes or so. Anything else you got as far as Chicago? Anything you want to stress in this game? Denver Bulls versus the Nuggets.
No, I think we covered it. Kobe. Someone mentioned Aaron Gordon in chat. Aaron Gordon's fine too. I just prefer Michael Porter Jr. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
If you were running 150 tonight, would you have some Drummond at 4.8? Which is not cheap, but like, you can tell yourself a story, right? And again, he could put up 27 in like 14 minutes.
I would have him just because of a lack of value, but on my 8 teams, I'm not going to have any Drummond.
That's kind of where I'm at too. Okay. Golden State versus Phoenix. That's the back half of the TNT doubleheader. 231.5 is the total. Golden State is a 1-point dog here. I lost my second screen. I'm playing injured. I'm not feeling well, but we're going to power on through. Let me see if I can find this in the fly. Yeah, so Durant is out. Bradley Beal is expected back tonight. Grayson Allen is out, as is Nasir Little. Golden State is fully healthy. As healthy as you're going to see him. Well, you mentioned the glove, his son, the mitten. I don't know if you've heard that before. Gary Payton II.
We've had a conversation about this before. It's a tough nickname for the son. It's a tough nickname.
We've had a conversation about Gary Payton II being called the mitten.
Yeah, last year. Yeah.
What was the big takeaway? They're like, you don't like, it's a bad nickname for him.
If you're a grown man and they're calling you the mitten and your dad's the glove, like you're losing, right?
Well, I mean, one is in the Hall of Fame, the other one's not. So one kind of, you know what I mean? Maybe he can grow out of the nickname. Be like, became an all-star himself.
I don't think he's gonna become an all-star anytime soon.
No, I don't think so. But he's put together. He's already kind of overachieved, right? And he got himself a decent contract. So good for him. He won. Yeah. Thoughts as far as Golden State and Phoenix, ownership wise. We mentioned Booker is just going to be pretty unowned. Just again, I understand you want to make the Luka argument and the Jokic argument, but we're talking about 3 or 4% for Booker without Durant, back half of the TNT doubleheader on a 5-game slate. I just think if you're running a bunch of lineups, you're supposed to have more than 4%. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, for me, I just don't think Booker can compete with Jokic and Luka in this scenario. If you wanted us to supplant him for LeBron or AD, I guess that's fine, but I think he's closer to those guys. Yeah, he's going to fall behind those guys for me as well. I just think that you play the Lakers guys and then you get over on Jokic or Luka. If you like Booker, you're playing 150 and you want to get over on Booker, it's not going to be difficult. So it's very easy to. That would be.
This is the names we're talking about. Billy in chat's asking about Yuta Watanabe at 4K. Like, I don't feel good about that, but we're giving him 20 minutes, 12-point median projection. He's 4K. Like the better fringe stuff on Phoenix, is like Drew Eubanks. I would say Drew Eubanks on Fanduel, by the way, where he's power forward eligible. I think that's useful, where he's 3.9. Going to be backup center there. Just going to open stuff up, and you're not forced to play him at center. On DK, center and center only, and 4-5s is tough to get to. Like KBD, Bates Diop, your classic 3 and D. Well, he's not a great 3, but he's out there for defense, I suppose, right? 13% usage on the season, 0.77 fantasy points per minute. Gordon, this is another good Fanduel play on DK. 6-6 is hard to pay off, but Eric Gordon has a much better price on Fanduel, where he's 5-5. Now he's going to be really popular over there, probably about 30% owned, but that's just how that goes. You're not really on Booker. Are you just off Phoenix in general? Do you like this fringe nonsense?
Okogie's going to get minutes because they're going to need him to guard Curry. Bates Diop, like it speaks to the value in the slate and like how DraftKings has kind of gone about pricing this year. Like we're discussing Yuta Watanabe at 4K. They're fine. Like they're fine last pieces in, but there's no one I really want. On the Golden State side, like maybe we see Kuminga start tonight. Kerr's been looking to shake things up, so he's someone I could have interest in. But there's not really anyone on Golden State that I really want to play outside of like, I don't know, who are we showing the highest ownership for in Golden State? Draymond, 20%.
I think it's Draymond. Yeah.
But I would prefer like
Draymond.
In that price range. I know they're not the same positions, but Derek White I think is a very good play in the 6Ks. Zubac's another one that I would prefer Zubac to Draymond. I know Draymond has power forward center eligibility, but he would make my player pool, but I don't know how much I'm going to get of him. I don't think I'll be at the 20%.
The Kuminga thing is pretty interesting. He's coming off one of his best games we've seen pretty much ever for Golden State. Taking down, I can't remember if they won that game or lost that game, but he was really good against OKC. Always had potential, always athletic, tends to like make some goofy plays, but also some spectacular plays, right? I can see him like driving the coach crazy and also getting him very excited within the span of like a minute or two, but they might need him to elevate his game tonight versus Phoenix. And he doesn't project well, but I think for tournaments, I love that call. 5-2, we're only giving him 18 minutes, but I think he can overcome that and play 24-25 if things kind of fall his way. But also, I think he can be really bad and fall on his face.
He's going to be someone I'm going to try to take an overweight approach on. I think he's a very good tournament play if we do get the news that he's starting. For all
love that call.
Yeah.
Steph, by the way, not getting played at all. Steph at 3%. He's there. He can make 7 or 8 threes. The only thing with Steph is like he can score 30 points and still like not being useful because he doesn't really pepper the box score a ton outside of that as far as rebounds. He'll get some assists, sure, but stock's not really his thing. Certainly not blocks, but he's got to put at least 30 in the bucket.
I feel like you could take that Steph clip and just use it every night.
Yeah, that's just the deal. And do I know if he's going to make 7 threes tonight? I have no idea. But he also got 40 in the bucket. But is that going to happen tonight? I couldn't tell you. We should talk about Sacramento and the Clippers before we turn over to crunch time. They're coming in a few minutes. 236 is the total. It's high and it's tight. Clippers are 3-point favorites here at home. As far as their injuries, let's see. There's none, right? Plumlee's still out. And Sacramento is fully healthy as well. We can acknowledge the existence, I suppose, of Alex Len, but he doesn't matter for our purposes. Ownership-wise, these Clippers are playing a lot of minutes of late. And I know they're old and they're fragile, but I guess they just don't care. Coach doesn't care. 36 minutes for Harden projection, 38 for Paul George, 37 for Kawhi, Zubac 29, but we saw him play 40 the other night. I think that was because Tice was out mostly, but just the ability that he can do that, maybe he can creep up play 32, 33. He's also been baked up as far as the price. The Kings, they're kind of expensive. There's really no great values, but there's some players I like. How are you handling Sacramento and the Clippers? I'm afraid I'm not going to have enough of this game, and I'm going to regret it. And I'll at least have a screenshot before this game starts. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, 1A, 1B for me from the Clippers would be Kawhi and Zubac. I could end up having more Zubac than Kawhi, just because of the ownership differential. I think Zubac's a very interesting play, and he talked about he just played 40 minutes. outside of that, like Malik Monk at 6'1", I like Derek White and Zubac are in that price range. I'm going to try to get over on those two. So I'll probably be under at the field on Monk, point guard, shooting guard eligibility for Monk. He's obviously a good play. I thought his ownership would be higher. Maybe I need to rerun my stuff. Maybe that's not the best pivot, but either way, like at 9%, it makes me want to reconsider. I thought he was going to be higher owned in this scenario.
He's just a good player to be over the field on five gamers, Monk, I think, just because you never really know when that game's going to come where he drops like 30 and 7.
Yeah, so if his ownership's that low, I might have to rethink that or taking that stance. Because like
Vanderbilt
you said,
out, by the way.
Hot. What?
Not a big deal, but Jared Vanderbilt's been ruled out. Like we have 16 minutes for him. Just trying but there's 16 minutes. You're gonna give a couple to Hachimura. You're gonna give a couple to Max Christie. Maybe Christian Wood gets an extra minute or so.
Yeah, it's gonna get dispersed through three terrible players. You know what I mean?
Reddish might get an extra minute. Prince might. Yeah, I'm just trying to see if there's any way to take advantage of that, but no, not really. It's not much.
Yeah, I'm not sure. For me, like the Vanderbilt thing is it's just going to get dispersed through that whole back rotation of the Lakers that I don't really like. Maybe it bumps them a little in projections, but they're still last guys in, if anything, if they're showing up.
Maybe Rui at 7. We have 17 minutes for Rui. I can see him getting like 5 more. And this isn't this projection team will handle this, but I could see him maybe getting like 22 minutes or so if you're considering I got Hachimura or something like that. And
what's Rui's price?
4-1, power forward only.
I guess he can make the pool then in that situation, just in the context of the slate. Like he's probably somewhat of a value. Yeah, going back to this Clippers game, George would be behind Zubac and Kawhi for me. And it's interesting. My buddy who just started playing DFS, he's like a very smart kid. He can like build all his own stuff. And he was like, James Harden's his guy. So it's 7-8. But James Harden would fall behind George, Kawhi, Zubac for me.
He just started playing DFS. Was he been your friend like since you won $1 million several years ago?
Yeah, little. He's always played. He plays micro stakes, but he's
ramping it up now.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious. I'm like, he had to be aware. Like, he didn't ask questions like several years ago. Like, maybe he didn't inquire then. Like,
he did. He has like his job's very tough. So he's always busy. It's like,
I feel like we didn't spend enough time in this game. We're going to get crunch time coming in. I'm sure they're going to focus on it a fair bit as well. But Bobby, you have anything you want to stress as far as Sacramento and the Clippers before we say hello to crunch time?
I like Zubac a good bit, so I think he's going to be my highest owned from that game.
Favorite king? You got one by default or not really? Monk, right?
Now that I know Monk's ownership's 9%, probably Monk. I thought he was going to be higher owned.
That does seem a little bit low. We do want to bring crunch time in. We have our reigning NHL experts. Tim's also here too. We got Tim, we got TJ, and we have Keith. TJ, congratulations on keeping the heater going, hockey-wise.
Thank you. Yeah, it was necessary too because I only made about a third of my entry fees back for NBA and then about 20% back for NFL. So NHL was the only reason I ended the day on a positive.
The Moose didn't get you last night. You didn't fall for that trap, did you? You didn't fall for the Muscala nonsense?
No. Which as soon as I saw he was 40% owned and I saw that start, I thought I was going to absolutely cook. I had one lineup that finished in, I think, like 30th place or something like that. But I had a rule that every lineup needed to have at least one of Olynyk or Year 7, which did not work at all. And so that brought it down pretty heavily.
Year 7 got 3 fouls in 2 minutes in the first half, and he played like 7 minutes the entire game. I don't want him derailing it, but they played George down to the bell. They were down by 30, and I had OKC minus 20, minus 19, minus 18, and Keontae George is hitting threes on plumbers, whoever the plumber is for OKC in the 15th spot in their roster. But I'm derailing the show. Are you playing the 888 tonight? We letting it ride tonight, TJ, in the hockey streets?
Yeah, I got 4 teams in the 888 tonight.
Woo! It's teacher versus student. Tim, you gotta represent tonight. You gotta take it down tonight.
I know. I really need something tonight in the 888.
I think Tim's gonna win it. I got a feeling.
There you go.
I got my single bullet in there. We'll see.
It's not a hockey show. As tempted as you guys are gonna be to want to talk about hockey.
I don't know why it's not. It's a way better hockey slate. But anyway, move on.
You know what? The prize pool is just bigger for basketball. That's kind of what dictates it, I suppose. But Bobby, give me the player that's breaking the slate before you step aside and make way for Keith, TJ, and Tim.
Jokic is my favorite play on the slate, but I'm going to go Derek White. I think he's going to be the guy that is going to be low owned, and he's going to go off. Alrighty,
fire after questions there, not just in the on the YouTube, but fire them off there in the Discord, RotoGrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel, the Crunch Time channel. I guess it's in that's where the questions are. My apologies for steering you in the wrong direction. TJ, I assume you're host. Is that correct? Am I right to throw it to you?
You are correct. You can throw it my way, and I'll catch it and run it to the end zone.
It's yours. Go for it.
Well, that was kind of anticlimactic, but it's crunch time. We got a 5-game NBA DFS slate. As my guy Tim said, not the most exciting of slates, but still some money to be won. My name is TJ Zwayrch. I will be your host for Fanduel sponsored crunch time this evening. If you get $150 in bonus bets, if your team wins, if you bet $5 in any money line over on FanDuel for new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. But let's start diving into this one because was a decent amount of injury news on this slate. I feel like we've had most of it come in now that we got the Anthony Davis and the LeBron James. We expected them to play. They're in. Jamal Murray downgraded to doubtful. We don't think he's going to play. Luka Doncic in. Tim Hardaway Jr. in. I feel like we got most of this stuff now. I'm joined by two of the sharpest minds in the industry. TastefulTides, Tim Buell. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I want to give Iceman a shout out on the Kobe White call last night. That was pretty amazing. I did not think he was going to smash that price tag, and he did. So that was a great call by you. It was a great game to watch, and yeah, great call by Keith on Kobe White.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, the Bucks against point guards. I think that's kind of a real thing here with Drew out of town and Dame. Dame just can't play defense anymore.
Yeah,
not that he was ever great at it, but.
Yeah, I know. He is just so dust on defense. It's amazing. So great call by you.
Thank you.
And the aforementioned Keith Eyster. How you doing, pal?
Doing well. A lot easier to get our hands around this 5-gamer than the 13-gamer that we were dealing with yesterday. So this should be a pretty easy breakdown here.
Yeah, it shouldn't be near as much chaos. That was absolutely crazy. Happy we got through that one. But let's start diving into this. We can start with FanDuel, of course, our wonderful sponsor. Keith, why don't you give me a little bit of a overview of the slate?
Yeah, I mean, I think he did a great job with the injuries there at the start. Like that was kind of the big thing, hoping that we wouldn't get like the Denver news until after lock, because I was pretty confident Murray wasn't playing today. Still doubtful, but I don't think he's playing. Coming back from the injury, there's just no reason for them to push him this early in the season. And Chicago on the other side of that game played overtime yesterday. So like they all played like 40 plus minutes. I'm concerned for the Chicago team here tonight. I will not be back on Kobe White after I think he played 45 minutes in that overtime game. So with Kyrie out, obviously Luka is popping. With Murray out, obviously Jokic is popping. Those are going to be the two popular studs. I'm pretty interested in the Sacramento LA game, Clippers game, that is, at the end of the slate. I think that's coming in a little bit under-owned. A lot of people are going to be loading up on Lakers and Mavericks and Nuggets. So I think a lot of the ownership is in the first part of this slate, and we have a couple of interesting games in the second half. Devin Booker, another guy with Kevin Durant out, just nobody's looking at. So up in the top range, I am completely understanding why Luka and Jokic are popping. They're phenomenal plays, but I think there's a couple of stars in those last two games we need to be keeping our eye on too.
Couldn't agree more. I have a rule set in my 150 build right now that I want at least one Clipper in every single lineup I play, just to make sure I have some exposure to the end of the slate. Tim, why don't you start us off at the point guard position? We'll talk about some cash game plays. We got Luka Doncic up top. Is he a priority spend for you, or are you looking at some of this value? I feel like we got to add a guy like Reggie Jackson, who is so wildly cheap on FanDuel, as a cash game core play here.
Yeah, Reggie Jackson 100% is a cash game core play on FanDuel. There's really no doubt about that now that Murray's ruled out. I'm really debating Luka or not. He's very expensive on FanDuel at 12.4. I certainly cannot fault anybody if they want to play him. I think I might bypass him in cash and go with Jokic as my priority spend. But that obviously could end up being a really bad take. So I'm probably going to go the Jackson, maybe Malik Monk, Dante Exum, that kind of mid-range type route for point guard. And same kind of idea with shooting guard also. You can play those guys at shooting guard. We also got Jalen Hardy too that you could play potentially. He's just a value play that should play probably around 20 minutes. He's 4,300. Not a great value necessarily, but we need some cheap pieces. Eric Gordon is definitely shooting guard, cash game viable on FanDuel. Dante Exum, like I said, probably should be in your cash games. And then, like you guys already mentioned, this Clippers situation. These Clippers are all kind of like in this mid-range, so it's tough to get double studs. So I think you've got to play one of Paul George or James Harden or Kyrie in cash games. So which one? I'm not 100% positive on. My lean is it's Leonard, but if not Leonard, then George would be my second favorite. So maybe go Exum and Paul George at shooting guard. But if you go the double stud route, then you got to go to guys like Hardy. So that might be more of a tournament, not a cash game build, though. So it's kind of tough, but I think that you've got to play one of those Clippers in cash games.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Pivot me to the forward positions.
Yeah, so if you don't play Eric Gordon at shooting guard, you can play him at small forward. I'd like to be able to play Tim Hardaway, but I'm a little bit nervous about that back issue. DeMar is popping in our projections, but I don't really know if I want to pay that much for him playing on a second night of back-to-back. So I don't know if I'm going to play him in cash either. So I think it's definitely going to be Eric Gordon, and then it's going to be probably Kawhi or Paul George. It's pick between those two guys for your small forward,
and potentially even both, depending on the lineup you're building. What about the power forward position?
Yeah, so FanDuel, I don't know how many nuggets you want to get to in cash because I really want to play Jokic, but Aaron Gordon at 6,200, really great play. If you don't play Kawhi at small forward, you can play him at power forward. I was looking at Anthony Davis as definitely being a cash game play, but now with the Jamal Murray news, and I really, really want to play Jokic, I'm not sure I can quite get to him, but you certainly can if you want to go in a different direction, like Anthony Davis or LeBron even. And then I think that's pretty much it for pay-ups and power forward.
Finally, the center position. Who are you getting to?
Yeah, so I'm paying up for Jokic in cash. That's what I'm doing. If you don't want to do that, if you don't quite have the salary, then Anthony Davis is fine also. The only other center on FanDuel that I would consider, and that's really thin, is Derek Lively. But that is it. It would be one of those three at my center position.
Keith, talk to me about some tournaments, but before we do, We need people smashing that like button because we got almost 500 people watching right now, and the likes are nowhere near high enough. Let's get this up to at least 100, 150. Maybe we got to feel it in our plums play of the night if we get up to 150 likes on YouTube. So keep smashing that like button. I'll go to Discord for questions first. Then I'll be going to the YouTube chat. But if for me to go to the YouTube chat, I need those likes to get way, way, way up there. So make sure you're smashing that like button. Actually, before I throw it over to Keith for cash, what do you think about Julian Strother, Tim? Because this is a guy
so
that I'm currently locking in on DraftKings.
Yeah, well, the question on YouTube is for Fanduel. So if you're going double stud, you can go Strother. But I'm gonna try and go more balanced. But yeah, Strother's completely fine. He should play around 23 minutes, so he's fine play 3,700. Yeah,
He's definitely somebody that I'd want to get in there as well.
I just think he's more of a tournament play than cash. But I mean, I guess he's all right.
So I kind of want to back Tim up on that because Denver does a lot of weird things with their their bench. Strother has not been like the primary bench player. He went off in that second quarter yesterday, and that is like it looked like I think he was in the game before Brown anyway. But just there is some risk there. I think that if Brown gets hot shooting or something, that he could get more run than Strother. So I do agree there is a little bit of minutes risk there. There's also upside on his minutes too. He could play 28 instead of 23. So very volatile situation. I don't blame him at all for being a little hesitant in cash. But at that price, I totally agree. Great tournament play.
Speaking of great tournament plays, who are you looking to get to in tournaments today?
All right. So I mentioned just the pivots at the top. We'll start with the point guard position. De'Aaron Fox's price is way up there, but he is a guy that has smashed all season long. You're probably sacrificing Luka or Jokic to be able to get there. But, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Fox ends up point per dollar wise outscoring Luka and Jokic on this slate. So keep that in mind. Get a little pinch of him. I'm not saying don't play Luka and Jokic, but pivots like Fox I think are going way overlooked on this slate. For another one I really like is Malik Monk. He's in that game environment. Love the price tag here on FanDuel at 5,600. A guy who can get hot shooting, can dish out some assists as well. D'Angelo Russell. Depends on what the Lakers are going to do. They obviously had that huge run in the tournament coming off the in-season tournament championship. Maybe they take it easy on LeBron and AD in this spot, and Russell gets a few more looks. So I really like D'Angelo Russell. Jordan Goodwin as a value play for a shorthanded Phoenix team, I think is pretty good. I don't think you can play Beal like first game back. I think they're going to be pretty easy with his minutes in this spot. So Beal coming back is interesting, but I don't think the minutes are going to be there for him. Shooting guard, I do like Devin Booker a good amount. Same type of play as Fox, just a guy who can go absolutely off, and nobody is playing on this slate. He's one of my favorite plays over here at shooting guard. Austin Reeves, very similar to Russell in that I think that they just might take it a little bit easy on LeBron and AD in this spot, and they play a few less minutes than typical, and they lean on guys like Russell and Reeves. So I do like Austin Reeves a good amount. Let's see here. Eric Gordon, I definitely like shorthanded Phoenix team. They're going to need some more scoring with Durant out, and if Booker isn't going nuts and Beal is still a little rusty with his shot, we could see Gordon get quite a bit of usage. So I think he's a really solid play. Norman Powell as a cheap play in that last game of the night that I'm trying to target heavily. Really like him as well as a value play. Small forwards, you can play Gordon here as well. Kind of with Tim on the Hardaway stuff. I don't know that I trust it. He's picking up a little bit ownership here. Like he could absolutely smash this price with no Kyrie. I'm torn on what to do with him, so I'm kind of just landing where the field's at in that like 20% range. But Hardaway is a very tough guy to figure out with a back injury, has missed yesterday. So just kind of playing him with the field, but I think there's a good chance he could put up a huge game here. Keegan Murray, somebody that I really like in the mid-range. Harrison Barnes, I think is fine at this price. Patrick Williams is cheap and has been playing a ton of minutes, but just one of those guys for Chicago that played over 40 minutes yesterday. Don't feel great about that. Michael Porter Jr. is one of my favorites as well in the mid-range. With no Murray, they're going to need a little bit of scoring. Porter is definitely a guy who could step into a bigger role. Power forward, love the Clippers guys. I miss Paul George back in the guards. Small forward, I think he has as well. Definitely like Paul George a ton. Love Kawhi as well. Love TJ's call to just put one in every lineup. It's so hard to figure out which one of Harden, Kawhi, and PG are going off in any given game. So just rotate through them a little bit. Love that call. The Suns guys are interesting as value plays. Drew Eubanks has power forward eligibility over here on FanDuel. I like that a good amount. He's really cheap as well. Keita Bates-Diop should play significant minutes tonight. I think he's fine if you need to save some money. Mentioned Keegan Murray at small forward, can play him at power forward. Porter as well. I think that's about it there for power forwards.
He kind of came up on organically here, but I want to plug. I don't hate the idea of a tournament salary saver, low ownership, getting to Rui Hachimura with no Vanderbilt today. I think he could get like 20, I feel like is a good projection, but he could maybe get up to 23, 24. And if he does sub 4K, I think he could end up being a very strong value play.
Love that call, TJ. Another guy I did overlook, I think he's small forward only over here on FanDuel, but Jonathan Kuminga. There's been a lot of talk around the Warriors changing up their lineup. So I would go ahead and bump up Kuminga's projection a little bit. You can try to pivot off of him to some of the guys in the other game if he does not end up starting. But there's been a lot of like Twitter speak and beat writer talk about Kuminga possibly moving into the starting lineup. I think he's a pretty solid value play who's currently overlooked because he's just not projecting well off the bench. But I would get a good amount of him if I'm playing like 15 to 20 lineups at least.
I like it.
A couple of centers here. Obviously, Jokic, awesome spot for him with expected to be no Jamal Murray. I think Draymond is in a pretty good spot here against a shorthanded Phoenix team. It's tough to get Golden State exposure, but I want to. Just mentioned Kuminga, but I do like Draymond a decent amount. Derek Lively, we saw pop off with a huge game in his last one. I think he had 16 rebounds or something like that. So tough spot for him against the Lakers here, but still pretty cheap. I think he can take some shots there with a shorthanded Dallas team. And then Bobby was on Zubac huge on the last show. I like that call as well. I'm just trying to find a way to get as much exposure to that last game as I can.
Yeah, as am I. I love that call. Let's pivot over to from FanDuel to DraftKings. I'm not sure why that was so difficult here. We'll get cash and tournament plays, and then we will save some time for QQs as well. Hitting the Discord live stream chat first, followed by YouTube. Make sure you're smashing that like button over on YouTube. Tim, point guard position on DraftKings. Who you liking here? I guess, hold on. Let me do a little bit of a reset so I don't have all my bonkers ones in there. You can still see my exposure goals, but because I'm running 150 today, but at least now it's back to the normal projections.
Yeah, so Reggie Jackson is not the same type of value on DK that he is on FanDuel. So for cash, I'm going to start with D'Angelo Russell at 6,200. Dante Exum is point guard eligible also, but I think he fits better at small forward, so I'd leave him over there. Obviously, you can play Luka. He ranks out amazing today. So, yeah, you can play Luka in cash, absolutely. James Harden is absolutely viable in cash also. So it would be one of those three, depending on how you want to spend your salary at the rest of your positions. Shooting guard, Austin Reeves. He's should be coming off the bench, 5,800. I think he's a great play for cash and GPPs. Julian Strother, I think, is a way better play on DK than he is on FanDuel. But, I mean, we talked about the risk there. He's only 3,500. Paul George, shooting guard, small forward. Again, I think you should be playing at least one Clipper in cash, probably just one. I still Jaden Hardy. I know he doesn't rank very well, but I think he should play some minutes. So maybe not for cash, but for GPPs definitely.
That 15-minute projection feels a little bit of like a hedge. He's probably going to play 6 or 25. Like that's honestly kind of how they run with Jaden Hardy. Is if they throw him out there and he plays well, they'll give him that run, and if not, they'll just move on somewhere else.
I think THJ being in does hurt Hardy significantly.
Yeah, definitely.
I am like he was pretty much out of the rotation before yesterday. Shout out to him. He did play well. Maybe that got him back into the good graces, and he does stick in the rotation. But there's definitely some risk with Hardy. If Tim Hardaway would have been out, then Hardy would have been my favorite play on the entire slate. But do you think there's some risk now?
Yeah. So for small forward, Dante Exum is definitely your small forward cash game on DK. And then it's either Paul George or Kawhi. Again, Austin Reeves would be right there also. Strother, if you really need the value, would be cash game viable. Also, power forward. Anthony Davis is by far my favorite power forward. I'm not sure if I can get to him, so I might just be looking for like Aaron Gordon or Draymond Green. Kawhi is a great play at 8,000, but I want to play Jokic, so I might not be able to pay up for AD. So it's kind of like, are you going to play AD and Luka, or are you going to play Luka and Jokic? Like it's kind of like it's tough to decipher like exactly what to do between those three guys. And then center for me, it's Jokic. It's not particularly close. If you don't want Jokic, then you can play AD. And that would be really it for cash. I would not punt center in cash games.
Yeah, I like that call as well. I switched my lock button of Julian Strother to a rule of play one of Christian Braun, Peyton Watson, and Julian Strother in every lineup. So now I have 94% Strother, 5% Braun, and 1% Peyton Watson, just to cover my bases there a little bit.
How much Rui do you have?
How much Rui do I have? Let's see. I have 14%.
Yeah, I'm actually playing him in my single entry GPP lineup tonight.
I like it. Here, I'm gonna, just for enjoyment, for our own little crunch time squad ride, I'm going to bump up my Rui Hachimura exposure so we can both be cheering for him a little bit here. All right, new build. Keith, who you liking at the point guard position?
All right, let's see here. Let me switch that over. All right, so again, De'Aaron Fox and Devin Booker, I like them even better here on DraftKings because they do get the 3-point bonus. Both of them can make multiple 3-pointers. Derek White has a decent price here. Obviously, I'm playing some Luka. Harden is another one that I really like a lot. D'Angelo Russell, I mentioned over on Fanduel, another one of my favorites here on DraftKings. Some shooting guards. Love the Strother call. Like I think there's a wide range of outcomes, but he can get there in 20 minutes. I think at 3,500, I think there's a chance that he plays 26 minutes as well. So strong tournament play there, even into some ownership. Austin Reeves, the guy I absolutely love tonight. Tim Hardaway Jr., same thoughts as I had on FanDuel. A little bit concerned about the injury. If he makes it through the game, he should be just fine at 5,900 here. Derek White is one of the few Celtics I'm playing today. Don't mind him at all. Hauser and Pritchard are both cheap. I'm struggling to see a ceiling from those guys. You're probably rooting for a blowout and they get a little bit of extra run if you're playing guys like Pritchard and Hauser. Let's see, Malik Monk, another one of my favorite plays here at a guard. A couple of small forwards. Strother has small forward eligibility as well, as does Reeves. Love Kawhi Leonard and Paul George as Clippers. Omax Prosper is another Dallas guy that's a little bit interesting. Like he's been getting a little more run here. We haven't projected for 22 minutes. Another just super volatile guy.
It's bumped down to 19 since.
Okay, so we did come down
to
on
22. Yeah, I thought that 22 might have been a little bullish with Grant Williams back. Since he's back there in the starting lineup, I feel like he should essentially just replace what Derek Jones Jr. was expected to do yesterday. And Prosper obviously came in and played really big minutes after Derek Jones Jr. got hurt. So I feel like 19 feels a lot safer on him.
Yeah, I agree. As a median projection, 19 feels better. I do think he could play low 20s in this spot, though. Like, especially if they kick out a guy like Hardy. Like, the back end of this Mavericks rotation is extremely, extremely hard to project. I definitely know that. Let's see. Talked about THJ already. Talked about Hauser. I do think KBD is still in play over here. Just a guy who could fall into 28, 30 minutes in this spot. Not a huge per minute guy. Don't love the price tag, but he's going to be out there for sure. Dalen Terry is popping up into a few things. I don't love it. Like, he has a super low projection. The only reason he's hitting builds is because he is a flat 3K minimum price.
Who?
I'm not excited about that. Dalen Terry for the Bulls. They're shorthanded with Caruso out again.
I'm going to be honest. I did not know this was a person.
Yeah, I think he's either a rookie or second-year player. I think he's a rookie. That has not gotten much run at all this year, but they are shorthanded. Let's see. Power forwards. Anthony Davis
is through the last two positions real quick because we only got 4 minutes to lock.
Yeah, it's really the same guys. It's Kawhi. Anthony Davis is great. Draymond, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr. Center, same guys. Jokic, Lively, Zubac, and Draymond as center as well.
All right, let's lightning round all of these questions here. If I forget to say a name, I'm going Tim for cash, and I'm going Keith for GPPs. FanDuel cash, Tim, Eubanks or Monk? Oh, Paul George and Eubanks or Monk and Jared Allen?
I guess the first one.
Yeah, maybe in that type of case, if you can get Strother in a lineup instead of Eubanks with some swapping around, that might be a little bit better. FanDuel single entry, Keith, Hardy or Okogie? Last piece.
Hardy.
Who scores straight up more DK points tonight, Tim? Jokic or Luka?
I'm going to go Jokic.
FanDuel cash, Tim, Prince or Okogie?
I guess Okogie.
Are you worried about Beal hurting Eric Gordon at all, Keith?
No, Gordon's still going to have a significant role. I don't think Beal's playing 30 minutes, so Gordon's still going to get plenty run, and there's plenty of shots available with Durant out.
FanDuel single entry, Keith, are 4 Suns too many Suns? I'm running it back.
Running it back with who?
Curry.
I think in that situation, it's okay. That's the only situation I would do for.
Agreed. DK, GPP, Keith, Kuminga and Drummond or Rui and Monk?
Really like both of those. Second one is safer. If Kuminga's starting, it's the first one.
FanDuel single entry, Tim. Is there a position that you like to that you would double punt if you could? Small forward probably would be.
Small forward, power exactly. Forward.
Yeah. Back to you here, Tim. DeRozan and Ayo or Paul George and Okogie for FanDuel cash?
The second one.
Clay or Reeves on FanDuel scoring. That answer is Austin Reeves. Reeves or Exum straight up on DK. Austin Reeves on that one as well, but that one's pretty close. Yep. DK, GPP, last piece, 5,200 or less, not Kuminga, Keith.
5,200, scrolling down. Give me Norman Powell.
Do you think Drummond is a good cash play tonight? No, absolutely not. That's the Kuminga one. Good. No Lively in cash. You can absolutely play Lively in cash if you're not playing Jokic, but Jokic is going to be the preferred option to get there. Drummond is not a good cash option. Don't go there. Last man under 4,800 on DraftKings, Tim.
I said Drummond, but not for cash, for GPPs.
Oh, yeah, perfect. Yeah, that makes sense as well.
KBD, and then the cash play, probably.
KBD, the cash play. Love that call. That is it for the YouTube questions. And we hit the Discord questions as well. 1 minute before lock. Get your lineups in. Make sure they're in there. And good luck tonight, everybody. I haven't checked the NHL scores yet. I don't know if anything's popping a little bit here, but I'm excited to go peek at it. And also make sure you smash that like button on your way out here because we got free content for you. Who doesn't love free content? And all you need to do for us is hit that like button And if you're planning on getting to some of those later games with some props or some pick'em DFS pick'em plays, you can check out the brand new props and pick'em package here at RotoGrinders. The experts at the RotoGrinders projections team take our premium stats, comb through the market for any inefficiencies. Using our model, you can easily see which lines are off, where to find them, and how likely the prop will be to hit based on our tool. Check out the link in our description for more info. And also, no longer free, but still very valuable, we got Sim Labs. You can use Sim Labs to generate DFS lineups through the power of simulation. It combs data from every aspect of the slate to churn out lineups that match your preferences. In just a few clicks, you can have hundreds of well-built correlated lineups ready to go for whatever contest you're playing. Be sure to check out the link in our description for more info. All Combo and NFL Premium subscribers now have access to Sim Labs, and we have Saturday football this week. Not just Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. We got Saturday football too, so make sure you take advantage of some Sim Labs. No last-minute QQs, it doesn't look like, so that will do it. On behalf of myself, Tim, Keith, Steve behind the scenes, and the whole RotoGrinders team, thank you for tuning in, everyone. You have been crunched.